Breaking news! Attorney KAUFMAN, hihilingin ang paglalantad ng mga dokumento kaugnay ng umano'y papel ni Trillanes sa ICC. Isinasaalang-alang umano ng lead counsel ni dating Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte sa International Criminal Court na si Attorney Nicholas KAUFMAN, ang paghahain ng hakbang upang mapilitang ilabas ang mga dokumento kaugnay ng umano'y papel ni dating Senador Antonio Trillanes sa ICC case laban sa dating Pangulo. Sa panayam ng ABS-CBN News matapos ang confirmation of charges hearing sa The Hague, sinabi ni KAUFMAN na posibleng hilingin ng depensa ang disclosure ng mga dokumento upang linawin kung ano ang naging aktwal na papel ni Trillanes sa kaso. Ipinunto ni KAUFMAN ang ilang ulat at pahayag na nag-ugnay umano kay Trillanes sa paglapit ng mga testigo at impormasyon sa ICC. Ayon sa kanya, may mga ulat na nagsasabing nagsilbing tulay si Trillanes sa pagitan ng ICC at mga usapin kaugnay ng witness protection. Binanggit din ni KAUFMAN ang pahayag ni dating Justice Secretary at ngayoy Ombudsman Jesus Crispin Remulla na si Trillanes umano ang nagpakilala sa kanya sa 2 tauhan ng ICC, kung saan tinalakay ang proteksyon ng mga testigo sa kaso laban kay Duterte. Ayon kay KAUFMAN, maaari siyang humiling ng disclosure ng mga dokumento mula sa Office of the Prosecutor upang masuri ang lawak ng partisipasyon ni Trillanes. Kung tatanggihan ito ng prosekusyon, sinabi niyang maaari siyang lumapit sa korte.
What does he have to do with this?
Who?
Mr. Trillanes, our senator, former senator.
Well, I can't tell you who gave witnesses to the ICC, okay? But I can tell you what Mr. Trillanes himself said. I mean, I came here with
Yes.
a few articles here. I mean, back in September of 2025, we had Jesus Crispin Remulla, when he was then the Secretary of Justice, I think, saying that the country has no direct relationship with the ICC, which is why Trillanes became a bridge between its government and the responsibility to protect witnesses. Then, I think in October, he also said that Trillanes remains in coordination with the ICC to submit evidence and assist in locating witnesses for the case. That's Trillanes himself. And as of today, Remulla, once again, now the Ombudsman, comes back and he said, the former Senator Antonio Trillanes, who introduced him to 2 ICC personnel, and they discussed the protection for witnesses in the ICC case that was filed against the former president, Rodrigo Duterte. Now, there's no secret about Trillanes' distaste, if I can put it that way, for the former president. He's been involved in this case right from the start. He was the person who refused to sign the Gordon report. He was the person who eagerly signed the Quadcom report. He's the person who, when Attorney Sabio died, and he withdrew his support for the communication that he filed right back at the beginning, then along came Trillanes himself, along with another attorney, Gary Alejano, and they filed a communication with the court. So he's always been behind the scenes, this individual.
What does that mean to you?
Well, it means that if he's close to the president himself, then perhaps there is some substance to the allegations that have been made.
And is that a problem also, the statement by the Ombudsman saying that he agreed, he admitted that he met with the ICC prosecutors?
Well, it depends what witnesses. If he has been supplying witnesses, which what he claims to have been doing, it depends what witnesses he has been supplying.
Essentially, he said that we need to protect the security of the witnesses as well. The
Correct.
state.
Well, yes, witnesses should be protected, yes. But once again,
Do you see anything wrong with that?
Well, for the protection of witnesses, well, put it this way, it depends what the framework is and how the Filipino government can do that when it's not got an agreement with the courts at the present moment in time. I mean, there could be agreement. If you remember, the deputy prosecutor gave an interview to Rappler on Friday, and I even remember the timestamp, it was somewhere around 18 minutes and 30. He was saying that the OTP, the Office of the Prosecutor, can conclude private agreements with private individuals and also with NGOs and with governments, obviously. That's under Article 54.3d of the Rome Statute. So anything's possible, I don't know. I can seek further clarification. I'm currently contemplating whether I ought to do that.
Clarification on before the ICC, you can do that?
Well, Trillanes has said so much in the press, then maybe yes, I will be seeking clarification of what really he was doing.
Before the pre-trial chamber, we can do that?
Well, I can seek disclosure. I can petition the Office of the Prosecutor. I can ask for the disclosure of documentation. They can refuse. And if they refuse to give me it because they believe that I'm on a fishing trip as opposed to seeking it for some legitimate purpose, and I do have a legitimate purpose in mind, but I'm not going to disclose it to you, then I can go before the pre-trial chamber, before now the trial chamber, should we need to, if the case gets confirmed.
All right. So, but essentially, we can say that that's one of the basis for saying that this is a politically motivated case.
Well, he says
It's
it himself.
clearly, yeah.
He says it himself. Two factors. First of all, TRILLANES, a known enemy of Duterte, admitting himself that he was bringing witnesses to the ICC.
Thank you very much. Sir, I'm just wondering if you were able to visit him again after the entire proceedings.
Well, if you remember, the proceedings finished on Friday,
Yes.
and since then we've had a weekend. I wanted to see him today, but unfortunately he was busy. So
Oh.
they've postponed my meeting until tomorrow.
How about phone calls, just to update him on what
Phone
happened?
calls, I haven't had an opportunity. I was so exhausted, and if you remember, I was trying to get home. Unfortunately, my flight's been cancelled because of the war in the region. So I'm stuck here for the time being, and I will be going to see him tomorrow.
So during the hearing, especially the final day, the Victims' Council have
Yeah.
been criticizing you because of that last part, where they say you made the testimony in behalf of the former president. Explain to us first, maybe, why did you feel like that was a necessary part?
Absolutely necessary. Don't forget, he has hundreds, not even hundreds, thousands of supporters who haven't seen him for a best part of a year. So I was relating what exactly goes on in a prison, what he's been telling me. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you remember, the prosecution tried to strike it out at the end of the hearing, and they failed.
So it wasn't stricken out.
No.
All right. You also made a point to address the victims. Why was that necessary as well?
Well, it's
Not once,
absolutely
but twice.
necessary because, as I said many times, at the International Criminal Court, victims are always at the centre. In fact, that was the reason why the International Criminal Court was set up, to counter impunity. So, by its very nature, every case that is brought before the International Criminal Court puts the victims at the forefront. And I'm a human being at the end of the day. And if people have lost loved ones, then I'm not going to be the person who makes light of that. And a lot of people were killed. We're not denying that. We're just saying that Mr. Rodrigo Duterte is not the person who's responsible for those deaths.
And you mentioned seeing somebody crying.
Indeed, I did.
When was that?
That was on the day that the victims spoke. Yes, on the day that the legal representatives for the victims made their arguments before the chamber.
So that's day 2.
Yes.
Yes, because they did tell me that there was a especially emotional day for them. How did that make you feel as well? I mean, I know you're representing the former president.
Yeah, well, as a human being, obviously, it touched me. And I've given my reasons why already. I don't make light of the loss of life.
Right. How would you assess this specific case of yours? How does it compare to previous ones you've handled?
Well, I think that the media interest in this case was far greater than any of the cases I've handled at the International Criminal Court in the past. Don't forget that many of the cases that I've handled here have been African cases, which really don't speak to the world at large, especially when we're talking about militia leaders and the likes. This is the first time that I've handled a case at this court where a president of a state has been brought before the court. And not just a president, but a president who has a huge following and a huge base of supporters.
During the hearings, and we've seen also your submissions about this, about the redactions. Why is it a major problem or issue for the defense?
Well, the redactions are there to protect witnesses and victims. But when most of the case, the meat of the case, and the meat of the case that you have to challenge as defense counsel is redacted, then it's very hard to make submissions in open session. And the whole purpose of open session is to allow the public, the general public, to be able to understand what's going on. Mm-hmm. And if you have the prosecution lifting redactions as fits the prosecution, as it sees fit, then the prosecution's entitled and able to make its case fully in public, whereas the defense is forced to go into closed session, into private session.
Yeah.
So that it can make its, obviously, its submissions before the judges, but then the public doesn't know what I'm saying.
Why is it significant for the defense, for the public to be able to follow this? Is this specifically for the Filipino people?
Well, of course, yes. That's what the whole proceedings are about, so that the Filipino people have full transparency and they can see what the Defense Counsel is doing for the former president. And so that they can judge me on the basis of what I'm doing, obviously, as well.
And you mentioned during the hearing 2 witnesses were served on a silver platter.
Yes.
What is that? What does that exactly mean? Is that
Well, that's in the context of the disqualification proceedings for the former prosecutor Karim Khan, and it's on the public record. So if you're interested, you can actually go and read these things.
But essentially, we're saying that the Philippine government is involved.
There is evidence of that, yes, and I made that argument during the hearing.
Because the prosecution did make a statement about, allegations in the Philippines. I'm not sure if you've heard about the recent updates about Marines coming out.
Yes, I'm fully aware of that. We're talking about the 18 Marines and the affidavit, yes.
Yeah. So that is related to what you're talking about.
It could be.
All right. So moving forward from the hearings, of course, we are waiting within a period of 2 months, but there seems to be a lot of things that the defense is also, anticipating, waiting for. Can you give us a rundown of the important appeals that are pending?
So first of all, we're waiting for the judgment on our jurisdictional appeal. That could be rendered any day. We're also waiting for a judgment on our appeal of the first detention review. If you remember, that was when we submitted independent medical advice as to whether or not the former president could meet the risk factors envisaged in Article 58 of the Rome Statute.
All right. So we assume that you're also preparing for any eventuality, of course.
Yeah.
In case of confirmation.
Correct.
Is your team going to be the same? Will you be adding more lawyers?
Well, I don't know at the present moment in time. That's still under discussion. As I said to many people already, that I was hired specifically for the confirmation proceedings. It's not clear whether I'll be rehired or not. It's not my decision to make. I'm happy with the job that my team has done up until now, and obviously we'll wait for a decision to be taken.
Okay.
I always think it's healthy as well when you're dealing with a case at the International Criminal Court to give the client and his family the option to change counsel after the confirmation proceedings, because you never know, they might feel that a fresh mind and a fresh ideas might benefit the case.
So recomposition is possible.
Well, if it be decided that I stay on, and as I said, it's subject to negotiation, then I will probably stay with the same team, yes.
All right. Are the 6 Filipino lawyers also, being considered?
I can't comment on that. What I can say is that the 6 Filipino lawyers who accompanied me to the hearing, at any rate, were providing extremely valuable advice. And they were also providing a very important function. They were explaining the proceedings to the Filipino public. As I said, I don't speak the language, the local language. Bisaya I don't speak Tagalog. So they perform a very important role. And also they were giving their input with respect to various aspects of police procedure, manuals, what have you.
All right. So were they able to provide that? I mean, the police manual, also I heard you say about the accomplishments.
Yeah, some of the documentation that the prosecution didn't pick up on and wasn't referred to by the prosecution actually came from the Filipino lawyers. Yeah, that was provided to us.
And some people are interested to ask you this. You keep mentioning the Philippine media.
Yes.
Why?
Well, it's quite
Explain,
unique.
please.
It's quite unique. I wouldn't say it's vicious. I actually quite enjoy interviewing in front of the Filipino media, but it's unique. Something I've discovered actually is the sheer unpredictability of political leanings within the same media company. For example, within ABS or GMA, you can have one person who's pro-Duterte, another person who's anti-Duterte. You really don't know who you're interviewing with at the end of the day.
Yeah, but you feel like the Philippine media coverage of the former president has been unfair.
Well, the mainstream government media coverage, yes, extremely unfair. I think that what I've learnt is that most of the pro-Duterte coverage comes from social media, not from the main government-backed media houses.
Okay, so you're telling me that this is the government media, right, which is PTV4, after the Duterte administration?
Well, I think it's actually got better since the confirmation proceedings, ironically. I've seen some fairer coverage by all of the media houses now, and they gave very good coverage of the defence arguments, it must be said. So I can't be overly critical. But having said that, at the beginning, when I first came onto this case, I did notice a very strong bias against the defence, if I can put it that way.
Yeah. And then, of course, you were especially concerned about statements that there are children affected by the drug war. The victims' counsels say they can actually prove that.
Well, they can prove it, but unfortunately, the prosecution hasn't brought any charges relating to children. Insofar as they do relate to children, we wouldn't know because the prosecution hasn't proved that they relate to children. Don't forget that criminal cases at the International Criminal Court are fought and won on the basis of evidence. And if you don't provide the evidence, then it's as if it doesn't exist. No evidence was provided to prove that children were killed. So as far as the case is concerned, there were no minors, apart from Kian, of course.
Is this the same with also argument with the police reports? Because, of course, the victims' counsel will say that, Duterte is president. You cannot rely on the police report.
Yeah, well, they can say what they like, but they have to prove it. The onus is not on the defence to prove a negative. And if there are documentary reports and the prosecution is quite happy to rely on them, then it should rely on all the reports. And then to come along at a later date and say that the reports were all destroyed, well, where is the basis for that? How have they proved that? I mean, Joe Butuyan and Gilbert Andres made all sorts of comments during their submissions to the court, but they didn't back it up with any evidence whatsoever. I mean, there's a reason for that, and I don't want to be particularly harsh on them because I understand where they're coming from. Let me enlighten you a bit. I mean, they were appointed by the pre-trial chamber at the 11th hour. They came at the beginning of the week before the confirmation hearing. By the Friday of that week, they hadn't even got their email access sorted out. So having access to the evidence, it's quite clear that they didn't. They didn't have any access to the evidence. And at the end of the day, the person who was best placed to make arguments on the evidence was Paulina Masada herself.
All right. Let's just let it pass. I know. All right. And of course, they're saying because you also told them that, they're, pulling heartstrings, appealing to emotions, creating the drama. But they're saying that you're doing the same.
Well, it's a bit. Come on, it's a bit of a cheek to call all of the president's supporters and his fan base bloodthirsty disciples, and that there were millions of them. I mean, not hundreds, not thousands, but millions. I mean, come on, who's really pulling at the heartstrings here?
All right. So, what's your assessment of the entire proceedings for the past?
Well, I think that the proceedings were conducted in a very respectful manner, and that's all credit due to the judges. Once again, I'm not going to pass judgment on the performance of any of the participants in the proceedings because it's not my place to do so. At the end of the day, the judges will rule on the basis of evidence, we hope, and obviously common sense, and not on the basis of emotion.
All right. And from what you can see, their evidence did not reach the threshold.
Obviously,
required.
Yes. We feel it falls far below the substantial grounds to believe threshold. Okay. Those are the submissions we made, and I stand by those submissions. Yeah.
And can you tell us more about the interim release? Until when is this option open? From what I understand, it's before trial, right?
No. An application for interim release can be made at any stage, and there has to be a periodic review every 120 days of the former president's detention. At the present moment in time, as I told you, we have a medical report which we brought before the pre-trial chamber.
Right.
The pre-trial chamber didn't feel it necessary to examine that report. We appealed that decision, and we were waiting for the judgment on that.
So it remains an option even during trial, just to be clear?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, and can you please clarify to us, because it says in your submissions, there's a country, who's willing to host the president. We won't ask you which country this is, but you're also saying that he should go to the Philippines.
Well, of course, because he should go back to the Philippines, because we hope that this case won't be confirmed. And if the case isn't confirmed, then it's his right to go back to the Philippines as a Filipino national, as a Filipino by birth.
Right.
Why should he not go back?
Right. But it's not part of the interim release. You want him to be sent home,
No, it can't be part of interim release, because interim release, the meaning of that is that he's released pending trial.
Yeah.
Okay, or pending further proceedings in the process. And there is no way that the prosecution would agree, or the court would agree, to send the former president back to the Philippines while the case is being conducted.
Okay,
Because
so-
they would argue that there would be a threat to witnesses, what have you.
So you've accepted that it's no longer part of the options.
Well, I
mean,
have
the
to accept
family.
it. Realistically speaking, any counsel who would ask to release his client back to the place where the alleged crimes were committed, and I stress alleged crimes because we don't accept that there were already crimes committed
Right.
by the former president, but you obviously have to be realistic and not put forward unrealistic options.
So this is a European country?
Sorry?
This is a European country?
I'm not going to tell you which
Asian?
country it is. I'm not going to tell you which country it is. You can torture me to death and I'm not going to tell you.
All right.
I'm not allowed to. There are
right.
certain issues of confidentiality, as I can say.
All right. You
right.
talked to the daughter also, the vice president,
Yes.
after this to
Well,
update her.
well, of course. She's family, as I speak to all the family, yes.
What exactly was your update? How was the conversation?
I'm not going to tell you what my conversations are
Like-
with the family. Of course, she receives regular updates as to what we're doing for her father, because the vice president's involvement in this case is purely as a family member.
Yeah.
She obviously is a lawyer, so she understands the legal issues better than most people. But at the end of the day, she has no active role in this case. She never had any active role in this case. Her role is purely as a daughter.
At kung kayo naman ang tatanungin mga kababayan, ano kaya ang inyong reaksyon at komento sa balitang ito? Please comment down below at huwag na rin kalimutang i-like at share ang ating video.
Thank you for watching.